The auditorium of the Fjellheim Convention Center buzzed with anticipation. I stood at the podium, heart racing, as I prepared to unveil my latest research on portal technology. Screens behind me flickered with images of the intricate designs and calculations that had consumed my life for the past several years. It was my moment, a culmination of sleepless nights and relentless experimentation, and I was determined to make it count. Ladies and gentlemen, esteemed colleagues, I began, my voice steady despite the knots in my stomach. Today, I present to you the advancements that could redefine interplanetary travel as we know it. I gestured toward the screen, where a detailed diagram of a new portal design shone brightly. This prototype not only increases stability but also enhances the efficiency of energy consumption, potentially allowing for instantaneous travel between planets. As I spoke, I could sense the audience's eyes glued to me, some scribbling notes, others whispering excitedly. But just as I reached the pivotal point of my presentation, a strange ripple coursed through the room, like a disturbance in the very fabric of reality. The lights flickered, and for a moment, the air seemed to thicken, pressing down on me. Gasps erupted from the crowd, faces turning pale, eyes wide with confusion. "What's happening?" I muttered under my breath, my heart pounding as I scanned the audience, searching for a familiar face. Then I spotted Lars, my closest colleague and the stoic engineer who often kept me grounded amidst the chaos of our work. He sat in the front row, brow furrowed, eyes darting around the room. "Astrid," he shouted, his voice cutting through the chaos. "We need to get out of here." Before I could respond, there was a flicker at the back of the auditorium, a shadowy figure, barely visible, standing just beyond the reach of the stage lights. My breath caught in my throat. Who was that? I wanted to focus on Lars, to understand what was happening, but the figure pulled at my attention, a dark presence that felt out of place in the bright, sterile environment of the conference. Suddenly, the distortion intensified, and I stumbled back, clutching the podium for support. The audience erupted into chaos, chairs scraping against the floor as people scrambled for the exits. I felt a surge of panic rise within me, mingling with confusion. What was happening to the portals? What had gone wrong? Once outside the auditorium, I found Lars waiting for me, his face set in a grim expression. "Did you see that?" he asked, his voice low, almost urgent. "Yes, but what was it?" I replied, trying to catch my breath. That distortion, it felt like something was off. Not just with the presentation, but with the portals. Lars nodded, his gaze drifting toward the horizon where the city skyline met the sky. "I've been hearing rumors, Astrid. Other portals across different planets are malfunctioning, creating temporal anomalies. It's not just us." I felt a chill run down my spine. "You think it could be connected?" "There's talk of a rogue scientist," he said, his tone darkening. "Someone who's experimenting with portal technology in ways we can't even begin to understand. If that figure in the back of the room is linked to this, then we could be facing something catastrophic." I bit my lip, my mind racing with the implications. We need to investigate. Find out what's really happening before it spirals out of control. As we moved away from the chaos of the conference, I couldn't shake the feeling that we were on the brink of something much larger than ourselves. The air felt charged, almost electric, and I was acutely aware of the stakes. We were scientists, engineers, and dreamers, but now we were about to become something more. Meanwhile, far from the city's chaos, in an abandoned lab hidden beneath the surface of Fjellheim, Solveig pored over her workbench cluttered with wires and components. The flickering lights above her seemed to resonate with her own troubled thoughts. She had been researching a new prototype portal, but now her instincts warned her that something was terribly wrong. Just as she reached for a tool, her comm device buzzed with a cryptic message, sending a shiver down her spine. "Solveig," the voice crackled, distorted yet urgent. "They're watching. The portals. They are more than you think. Trust no one." Panic surged through her as the lights flickered once more, casting eerie shadows across the room. The lab began to distort around her, warping like a reflection in a funhouse mirror. She steadied herself, heart racing, trying to decipher the implications of the message. She had to uncover the truth before it was too late. I walked through the dimly lit corridor of our lab, the hum of machinery creating a rhythmic backdrop to my thoughts. The weight of the recent events pressed heavily on me, and the looming question of our next steps felt almost suffocating. As I approached Solveig's workspace, I could see her deep in concentration, her brow furrowed and her fingers dancing over the control panel of her prototype portal. "Solveig," I called softly, not wanting to startle her. She turned, her expression a mix of surprise and curiosity. "Astrid," she replied, straightening up. "What brings you here? Shouldn't you be preparing for the team meeting?" "I wanted to talk to you first," I said, stepping closer. "About the portals. About everything." She sighed, casting a glance at the flickering lights overhead. "I don't know, Astrid. It's becoming increasingly dangerous. The distortions are getting worse, and I'm not sure I want to be a part of whatever is happening." "I understand your hesitation," I replied, choosing my words carefully. "But we need you. The anomalies are growing, and if we don't take action soon, I fear we could face a catastrophe. There's more at stake than just our research. Lives are at risk." Solveig's eyes narrowed slightly, as if weighing my words. "What do you propose? That we just jump into the fray without knowing the full extent of the danger?" I took a deep breath, knowing I had to convince her. "We have to investigate the portal on Aldra. It's one of the most critical points in the entire network. If it's failing, it could cause a chain reaction across the system. We can't turn our backs on this." She studied me for a moment, the tension palpable in the air. "And what if it's worse than we think? What if we find something we're not prepared to handle?" "I believe we can be prepared," I answered, my voice steady. "You're the best physicist I know, and Lars is a brilliant engineer. Together, we can figure this out. But we need you, Solveig." After a long pause, she finally nodded, albeit reluctantly. "All right. I'll do it. But you have to promise me, we go in with our eyes wide open. No reckless moves." "Deal," I said, relief flooding through me. "Let's meet up with Lars and discuss our findings." As we walked toward the meeting room, the weight of uncertainty still lingered, but now there was a flicker of hope. Lars was already there, poring over data on a screen. He glanced up as we entered, a look of concern crossing his face. "Did you manage to convince Solveig?" he asked, his voice low. "She's on board," I replied, a small smile breaking through my earlier tension. "But we need to be smart about this. The risks are high." Lars nodded, his demeanor serious as he gestured toward the screen. "I've analyzed the latest portal data. The collapse on Aldra isn't a natural phenomenon. There's something or someone behind it." "What do you mean?" Solveig asked, leaning closer to the screen. "Look here," Lars pointed, his finger tracing a pattern on the monitor. "These energy fluctuations don't just appear. They're being manipulated. It's almost as if someone is siphoning energy from the portal itself." "Who would do such a thing?" I questioned, feeling a chill run down my spine. "I've heard rumors," Lars replied, his voice dropping to a whisper. "There's talk of a rogue scientist experimenting with portal technology. Someone who wants to control it for their own gain." I exchanged a glance with Solveig, the unspoken understanding passing between us. The stakes were higher than we had imagined. We need to get to Aldra, and we need to do it quickly. "Lars, can you prepare the portal for activation?" "Absolutely," he said, determination flickering in his eyes. "I'll start the calculations immediately." As I watched him work, a sense of urgency gripped me. We were on the brink of something monumental, and I felt the weight of responsibility pressing on my shoulders. We had to succeed. "Let's make sure we're ready for anything," I said, my voice firm. "I have a feeling we're not just dealing with a simple malfunction. This could be the beginning of something much darker." With newfound resolve, we began our preparations, unaware of the chaotic void that awaited us. As we activated the portal, I could feel the energy crackling around us, the air thick with tension. Little did we know that the true test of our strength and trust was just about to begin. The air on Aldra was thick with an unsettling energy, pulsating like the very fabric of reality itself was trembling. As I stepped through the remnants of the portal, I couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. Lars and Solveig followed closely, their expressions mirroring my concern. The landscape was devastated, with jagged rocks jutting out of the ground and a strange luminescence flickering in the distance. "Do you feel that?" I asked, my voice barely rising above the eerie silence that enveloped us. The locals, their faces etched with fear and desperation, huddled together, their eyes wide with apprehension. "Yeah, it's like the ground is alive," Lars replied, scanning the horizon. "We need to find out what's causing this." It's more than just a portal malfunction. As we approached the cluster of locals, I noticed their eyes darting nervously behind us. It was as if the shadows themselves were creeping closer, waiting for a moment of vulnerability. "We're here to help," I said, my voice steady despite the unease gnawing at my insides. "Can you tell us what's been happening?" One of the elders stepped forward, his voice trembling. "Strangers, we have been suffering. A group has been siphoning energy from the portals, twisting them for their own dark purposes. We fear for our lives." "Who leads this group?" Solveig asked, her brow furrowed in concentration. "The rogue scientist Kjetil," the elder replied, his voice a whisper. "He seeks to control the very essence of reality. We've seen people disappear, taken by the energy he wields." A chill ran down my spine at the mention of Kjetil. We had heard whispers of his experiments, but to know he was here, endangering innocent lives, ignited a fire within me. "We need to find his base of operations," I declared. "If he's the source of this distortion, we must confront him." The elder nodded, relief washing over his features. "You will need to travel underground. There is an entrance near the old shrine. But be warned, the path is fraught with danger." We set off towards the shrine, navigating through the twisted terrain. As we ventured deeper, the air grew colder, and the flickering energy waves intensified. I could feel the tension building within the team, the weight of the unknown pressing down on us. "Stay alert," I said, glancing back at Lars and Solveig. "We have no idea what we're walking into." The underground facility was hidden behind a crumbling facade, the entrance barely discernible in the shadows. As we descended into the depths, the hum of machinery filled the air, a stark contrast to the silence above. The walls were lined with strange devices, their purposes unclear but ominous. I could feel the energy thrumming beneath my skin, a reminder of the danger that lay ahead. "Look!" Solveig exclaimed, pointing to a series of monitors blinking erratically. "These readings, they're off the charts." Lars stepped closer, his eyes narrowing. "This must be Kjetil's work. He's harnessing the energy from the portals to manipulate reality itself." As we gathered evidence, a low growl echoed through the facility. My heart raced as I turned, just in time to see a group of armed figures emerging from the shadows. "We're not alone," I shouted, adrenaline surging through my veins. "Get back!" Lars yelled, pushing me behind him as the first of Kjetil's minions lunged at us. I grabbed a nearby metal rod, my instincts kicking in. "Fight!" Solveig cried out, her voice cutting through the chaos. We launched into action, the energy of the facility amplifying our every move. I swung the rod, connecting with a minion's side, feeling the impact reverberate through my body. "Head for the exit!" Lars shouted amidst the fray. I could see the urgency in his eyes, the determination to protect us all. Just as we were making a break for it, another wave of minions surged forward, cutting off our escape. "We can't hold them off much longer," I gasped, ducking under a swing aimed at my head. The chaos around us was disorienting, each moment feeling like an eternity. "Over there." Solveig pointed to a narrow passageway leading to an emergency exit. "We have to get through." With renewed energy, we pushed our way toward the exit, narrowly dodging blows. My heart pounded in my chest, adrenaline surging as we barreled through the door. Just as we thought we had escaped, I felt a sharp pain in my side, a glancing blow from an enemy's weapon. "Go! I'll hold them off!" Lars shouted, but I couldn't leave him behind. "No, we go together," I insisted, grabbing his arm. With a last push, we burst through the exit, the cool air hitting us like a wave. We stumbled into the open, gasping for breath as the chaos of the facility faded behind us. But as we caught our breath, the weight of what we had discovered settled heavily on my shoulders. Kjetil was out there, and we had to confront him before he could unleash his madness upon the universe. As we stood in the dimly lit room, the weight of Kjetil's plans settled over us like a thick fog. The holographic display flickered with images of interconnected portals, all leading to a master portal that could bridge infinite dimensions. I leaned against the cold metal table, my heart racing as I processed the implications of what we were up against. "He's trying to connect everything," I whispered, almost to myself. "All dimensions. It could tear reality apart." Lars crossed his arms, his brow furrowed in concentration. "We need to stop him before he activates it." If he succeeds, there's no telling what could happen. We could be lost in a void of chaos. Solveig, who had been quiet, ran a hand through her hair, her expression a mix of determination and fear. We need to gather our allies. The locals know the terrain better than we do. They've suffered from Kjetil's experiments. They'll want to fight back. I nodded, feeling a surge of hope. Right, then. Let's rally everyone we can. We'll need their knowledge and strength if we're going to infiltrate his stronghold. As we moved through the streets of Helheim, I couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. The shadowy figure from the conference haunted my thoughts. Had it been Kjetil? Or someone else entirely? Lars must have sensed my unease. Astrid, are you okay? I forced a smile. Yeah, just thinking about everything we've faced. We've come this far, right? We can't back down now. Right, he replied, his voice steady. We're in this together. We reached a small gathering of locals, their faces drawn with worry. I stepped forward, my voice firm as I addressed them. We need your help. Kjetil is planning something catastrophic that will affect us all. He's been siphoning energy from the portals, and if he opens that master portal, it could lead to the end of our reality. A murmur spread through the crowd. One man, with weary eyes, stepped forward. What do you propose? We need to infiltrate Kjetil's stronghold, Solveig interjected, her voice clear. We will face him directly. But we can't do it alone. We need your knowledge of the area and your strength in numbers. Several locals nodded, their resolve hardening. We've lost too much to Kjetil's madness. We'll fight with you. With our new allies by our side, we set our plan into motion. As we approached Kjetil's stronghold, the tension in the air was palpable. I could feel the energy vibrating around us, a mix of fear and determination. We moved in the shadows, avoiding the patrols that Kjetil had stationed around the perimeter. Stay close, Lars whispered, leading the way. We can't afford to be caught. The stronghold loomed ahead, a dark silhouette against the starlit sky. My heart raced as we slipped through a narrow opening in the wall. The interior was cold and sterile, illuminated by flickering lights that cast eerie shadows. We crept through the corridors, my mind racing with possibilities of what could go wrong. Suddenly, we halted at a large door, heavy and imposing. I exchanged glances with Lars and Solveig, our unspoken question hanging in the air. Was this it? The heart of Kjetil's operation? On 3, I whispered, my hand resting on the control panel. 1, 2, 3. As I pressed the button, the door slid open with a mechanical hiss, revealing a vast chamber filled with pulsating energy and machinery. At the center stood Kjetil, his back turned to us, seemingly engrossed in his work. Welcome, my dear friends, he said, his voice smooth and taunting. He turned slowly, a smirk playing on his lips. I've been expecting you. I felt a chill run down my spine. You knew we would come. Of course, he replied, his eyes glinting with a malevolent joy. I've been watching your every move. Your naivety is almost charming. Lars stepped forward, anger flashing in his eyes. We're here to stop you, Kjetil. You can't toy with reality like this. Kjetil laughed, a sound both chilling and mocking. You think you can stop me? You're already too late. The master portal is almost ready. Soon, I will reshape the universe as I see fit. My heart pounded in my chest. We won't let you do this. Such determination, he said, tilting his head as if considering us. But you're merely pawns in a game far beyond your comprehension. The air in the chamber thickened, and I felt a wave of dread wash over me. He had manipulated us from the start, anticipating our every move. I exchanged glances with Lars and Solveig, realizing that we were standing at the precipice of something far more dangerous than we had imagined. Get ready, I muttered, adrenaline coursing through my veins. This isn't over yet. The air crackled with tension as we stood in Kjetil's lair, the remnants of his twisted experiments surrounding us like the shadows of our impending doom. I could feel the weight of our capture pressing down on my shoulders, a physical manifestation of despair. Kjetil, with his disheveled hair and manic eyes, circled us like a predator, his laughter echoing off the metallic walls. Did you really think you could stop me? He taunted, his voice dripping with derision. You're nothing but pawns in a game far beyond your understanding. I will reshape reality itself, and you will witness my ascension. Lars clenched his fists beside me, his stoic demeanor cracking under the pressure. Juremet, Kjetil. This isn't about reshaping reality, it's about control. You want to play God, but you lack the vision. Jetel's eyes narrowed, and he raised his hands, distorting the air around us. Reality wavered like a mirage, and I felt a wave of nausea wash over me as the world twisted and turned. Control? Oh Lars, you misunderstand. I will not just control reality, I will redefine it. Imagine a universe where your desires manifest at a whim. I glanced at Solveig, who stood resolutely beside me, her brow furrowed in concentration. I knew she was formulating a plan, but I feared that time was running out. With a sudden burst of courage, I stepped forward, my voice steady despite the chaos around us. You think you can wield this power without consequence? The fabric of reality is delicate. You'll destroy everything. Jetel paused, a flicker of uncertainty crossing his face. For a brief moment, I dared to hope that reason might penetrate his madness. But then he laughed again, a harsh, mocking sound. You poor, naive souls. Reality is merely a canvas, and I am the artist. I will paint it in my own image. With a swift motion, he unleashed a wave of energy that rippled through the air, distorting our surroundings further. I felt myself being pulled in every direction, as if the very fabric of space and time was unraveling. Panic surged through me, but I caught Solveig's gaze. We have to get out of here now. In that moment of desperation, Solveig's eyes lit up with determination. Wait. I might be able to create a rift, just long enough for us to escape. She began to focus, her hands moving in intricate patterns as she channeled her knowledge of portal technology. Do it, I urged, my heart racing. We can't let him keep us here. Just hold on. Solveig shouted as she concentrated, her face set in fierce determination. The air around us shimmered, and I could feel the energy building, a pulsing rhythm that thrummed against my chest. As Jetel continued his monologue, oblivious to our escape plan, I took a deep breath. Lars, we need to be ready. Once she opens that rift, we have to move fast. Understood, he replied, his voice steady. He was always the calm in the storm, a steady anchor in the chaos. I looked around, searching for any potential weapon or tool we could use against Jetel. The facility was cluttered with remnants of his experiments, bizarre devices and warped machinery, but nothing that seemed immediately useful. Now! Solveig shouted, and with a bright flash, a rift opened before us, a swirling portal of colors that beckoned us to freedom. I felt a rush of hope mingled with fear as I grabbed Lars's arm, pulling him toward the rift. Go! Go! I urged, adrenaline coursing through my veins as we plunged into the swirling chaos. The world twisted around us, the sounds of Jetel's enraged shouts fading into nothingness as we tumbled through the rift. We landed hard on the other side, sprawled on the cold ground of an unfamiliar environment. I gasped for breath, disoriented but alive. Did we make it? I asked, scrambling to my feet. Lars stood beside me, eyes scanning our surroundings. For now. But we need to regroup and figure out our next move. Kjetil won't stop. He has the technology, he'll come after us. Solveig pushed herself up, brushing off the dirt from her clothes. We need to turn his own technology against him. He's too consumed by power to see his own weaknesses. If we can overload the master portal he's trying to create, then we can stop him, I finished, a spark of determination igniting within me. Let's find a way to salvage something from his facility. There has to be something we can use. As we began to strategize, lingering doubts flitted through my mind. Could we really turn the tide against Jetel? Could we harness the chaos he created and use it to restore balance? The weight of the universe seemed to rest on our shoulders, but with each passing moment, I felt our resolve strengthen. Together, we would find a way to confront the darkness he unleashed, to reclaim the reality he sought to distort. The air crackled with tension as we stood at the precipice of the master portal site, the ground trembling beneath our feet. I could feel the weight of the moment pressing down on me, a thick fog of uncertainty mingling with the adrenaline surging through my veins. The swirling energy from the portal pulsated like a heartbeat, casting eerie shadows on the jagged rocks that surrounded us. Stay focused, Lars said, his voice steady, though I could see the determination etched on his face. We need to disrupt Jetel before he can activate it. I nodded, my heart racing. I'll distract him. Solveig, you work on accessing the original energy source. We need to pull the plug on whatever connection he's established. Right, Solveig replied, her brow furrowed in concentration as she scanned the chaotic energy field. If I can tap into the source, we might be able to destabilize his control. Just then, Kjetil emerged from the shadows, a wicked smile curling on his lips, his eyes alight with madness. You think you can stop me? He taunted, his voice echoing like thunder. This portal will reshape reality itself. I am beyond your grasp. Not if we have anything to say about it, I shot back, stepping forward, my fists clenched.
You vais gå toffa, Kjetil.
This isn't about power, it's about lives. He laughed, a chilling sound that sent shivers down my spine. Lives? You misunderstand. This is evolution. You should embrace it. As he raised his hands, the portal began to shimmer violently, distorting the very fabric of reality around us. I felt a wave of nausea wash over me as I struggled to keep my footing. The world seemed to twist and bend, and for a moment, I lost sight of Lars and Solveig.
Now!
I yelled, my voice cutting through the chaos. I lunged towards Kjetil, hoping to disrupt his concentration. But he was ready. A blast of energy erupted from his fingertips, sending me sprawling back into the ground. Foolish girl, he sneered, turning his attention back to the portal. You can't stop what's already in motion.
Lars, now!
He's distracted. Solveig shouted, her voice piercing through the distortion. Lars surged forward, grabbing a makeshift weapon we had salvaged from the underground facility. He swung it at Kjetil, but the rogue scientist merely deflected it with a flick of his wrist, sending Lars crashing against the portal's edge. Is that all you've got? Kjetil mocked, a vein of arrogance coursing through his tone. You can't compete with the power I wield. I struggled to my feet, my vision blurring as I fought against the disorienting energy waves. Solveig, what's taking so long? I shouted, desperation creeping into my voice. Just a moment, she replied, her fingers flying over the control panel, her face a mask of fierce determination. I'm almost there. Just then, Kjetil turned his attention back to her, sensing the shift in power. You think you can take control of this energy? You're mistaken. With a surge of courage, I charged at him again, this time aiming for his connection to the portal. Lars, help me hold him back. Together, we tackled Kjetil, but he was strong, stronger than I had anticipated. He twisted away from us, his focus shifting back to the portal. You're all so predictable, he growled, his face contorted in fury. In a moment of clarity, Solveig shouted, I've found the connection. Astrid now. I felt a spark of hope igniting within me. Lars, keep him occupied. With a swift motion, I dashed toward Solveig, who was working feverishly to tap into the energy source. As I reached her side, I could feel the raw power coursing through the portal, and I knew we had to act quickly. We have to overload it, I said breathlessly. It's our only chance. On 3. Solveig said, her eyes locking onto mine. 1, 2, 3. Together, we pressed the activation sequence, pouring our combined energy into the portal. The ground shook violently beneath us as the portal began to destabilize. Kjetil's face twisted in horror as he turned to us, realization dawning in his eyes. No. You can't. I won't let you. But it was too late. The portal erupted with a blinding light, a wave of energy surging outward, consuming everything in its path. I felt myself being pulled into the light, the world dissolving around me. In those final moments, I caught a glimpse of Kjetil's face, a mix of rage and despair. You'll regret this, he screamed as the energy backlash engulfed him, his figure disintegrating into nothingness. As the chaos subsided, I found myself lying on solid ground, the portal now a smoldering ruin. I blinked against the brightness, realizing that we had emerged victorious. Lars and Solveig were beside me, their faces reflecting a mix of disbelief and relief. We did it, I whispered, my voice trembling. Together, Lars replied, his hand gripping mine tightly. Trust, Solveig added, a soft smile breaking through the tension. That's what brought us here. As we stood amidst the remnants of the portal, I knew our journey had changed us forever. The universe had been saved, but more importantly, we had forged an unbreakable bond, one that would carry us through whatever reality lay ahead.